outside to play. There are so many things that we can do. We can play and catch and jump some rope. We need to be careful that we don't bump into each other. Once we are finished, we must go back inside and do our work. Playing outside is fun. Thank you.
First is the two frogs. Once, two frogs were near a pot of rain. They decided to look into the pot and fell into it. They couldn't get out of the pot, so they swam round and round in the rain. One of them was afraid and said, "Oh, this is the end of my life." It stopped swimming and sank. But the second frog was brave and clever. He swam and beat the criminal's little feet. The pool became a ball of butter. The frog jumped on the ball of butter and got out of the pot.
Dear students and teachers, my name is Abdullah bin Khan. I am from class 1B. My passage name is The Bright Sun. It was a beautiful afternoon. The sun was bright in the sky. It shone over the hills, meadows, and the castle. It shone in the barnyard, where the noisy rooster crowed. In the garden, the birds were singing. Hello everybody, my name is Husnul from class 2A. Today I am going to read a passage. The passage is about seasons. The weather changes throughout the year. These changes are called seasons. There are 4 seasons in a year that bring important changes for plants and animals who live in different parts of the world. The earth spins in a tilt position when it's orbits around the sun. The tilt is what causes all seasons to change as different parts of the earth are closer or further away from the sun's light. Thank you. From class 2B. Today my reading topic is My Sunday. My Sunday. I love Sundays. On Sunday I don't go to school. So I usually get up late in the morning. In the afternoon, I often go out with my family. We usually go to a park or go shopping. Every other Sunday, I visit my grandparents. When I visit them, my grandmother cooks me a delicious meal. In the evening, I watch TV or play computer games. Sunday is fun and relaxing. Thank you. I'm Aarbi from class 3A. Today I am going to recite the poem named The Horse and the Prince. Alexander was a Greek prince. He lived in Greece a long time ago. Once when Alexander's
by mistake बच्ची बोल गई है पोते. You carry on, please. You carry on.
Alexander's father was king. A man brought a horse to him. Alexander liked the horse. The horse, it was a fine horse, tall, young and strong. That's a beautiful horse, thought Alexander. Alexander liked the horse. The king liked the horse too. Who will ride this horse? He asked his soldier. I will, said the captain. But it kicked out and the captain fell. Who else will try? Asked the king. Another soldier tried and he was also thrown off. Then a third soldier tried and fell. It's a beautiful horse, said the king. But what's the use? It throws its rider off. Thank you. I am Zephyr from class 3B. Today I am going to read the passage, The Bridge in the Sky. Long ago, people thought that rainbows were magic. Some people believed that a rainbow was a bridge for the goods to use. When they wanted to come down to earth, other people believed that if you could find the end of the rainbow where it touched the ground, you would find a pot of gold there. Today, we know that rainbows are not magic. They are made by sunlight shining through raindrops. To see a rainbow, you must have the sun behind you and rain falling in front of you. Thank you. Today I am going to narrate a story. The title of my story is The Withered Saplings. This is the prince and the sage story. Once there was a wise and generous king who had an ill mannered son. One day a sage visited the king. The king welcomed him and offered him a hermitage near the palace. One day the king visited the hermitage and said, "My son is ill mannered. Please change his way so that he may be a worthy successor to the throne." The sage took the prince for a walk in the royal garden. The sage pointed to a small plant and said, "Taste a leaf of his plant." The prince tasted a leaf and spat it out. He said, "It's bitter. It will grow into a poisonous tree." Then he pulled out and threw it away. The sage said, "The subjects of your kingdom might not want you as the king. A humble person can win the hearts of everyone." The prince thanked the sage and stayed for the better. Thank you everyone. The story, The Proud Red Rose. Once upon a time, in a desert far away, there was a rose who was so proud of her beautiful looks. Her only preference was drawing next to an ugly cactus. Every day, the beautiful rose would insult and mock the cactus on his looks. All while the cactus remained quiet. All the other plants nearby tried to make the rose see sense, but she was too swayed by her own looks. One scorching summer, the desert became dry, and there was no water left for the plants. The rose quickly began to wilt. Her beautiful petals dried up, losing their rich color. Looking to the cactus, she saw a sparrow dip his beak into the cactus to drink some water. Though ashamed, the rose asked the cactus if he could have some water. The kind cactus neatly agreed, helping them both through the tough summer as friends.
Same content.
The title of my story is The Proud Rose. Once upon a time, in a desert far away, there was a rose who was so proud of her beautiful looks. Her only complaint was growing next to an ugly cactus. Every day, the beautiful rose would insult and mock the cactus on his looks. All while the cactus remained quiet. All the other plants nearby tried to make the rose see sense, but she was too swayed by her own looks. One scorching summer, the desert became dry, and there was no water left for the plants. The rose quickly began to wilt. Her beautiful petals dried up, losing their lush color. Looking to the cactus, she saw a sparrow dip his beak into the cactus to drink some water. Too ashamed, the rose asked the cactus if she could have some water. The kind cactus readily agreed, helping them both through the tough summer as friends. Thank you. The Golden Touch. There once was a king named Midas who did a good deed for his time, and he was granted a wish by the god of wine.
For his wish, Mirage asked that whatever he touched would turn to gold. Despite the god of wind effort to prevent it, Mirage pleaded that this was a fantastic wish, and so it was bestowed. Excited about his newly earned powers, Mirage started touching all kinds of things, turning each item into pure gold. But soon, Midas became hungry. He has picked up a piece of food he found he couldn't eat it. He had turned to gold in his hand. Hungry Midas groaned, I'll starve. Perhaps this was not such an excellent wish after all. Seeing his dismay, Midas' beloved daughter threw her arms around him to comfort him, and she too turned to gold. The golden touch is no blessing, Midas cried.
Long ago, in America, a pair of crows nested in a hollow tree, at the bottom of which lived a snake which used to eat the young birds as soon as they were hatched. Oh dear, how can we stop this horrid snake eating our children? Said the mother crow one day. We must get rid of him, my dear, replied the father crow. But that is impossible, said Mrs. Crow. You know very well that he is much stronger than we are. One day, the king's son came down to a nearby river to swim. And no sooner had he entered the water, the father crow seized the lovely gold anklet of the prince and brought it inside the hollow tree in which the snake lived. When the prince was dressing, he noticed his precious anklet was missing. He ordered his servants to search for it. After some time, the missing anklet was found in the hollow tree. The servant also found the cruel snake and killed it. So, the crows were able to bring up their next family in peace. Thank you. The Needle Tree. Once there were two brothers who lived at the forest edge. The oldest brother was always unkind to his younger brother. The older brother took all the food and snatched all the good clothes. The oldest brother used to go into the forest in search of firewood to sell in the market. As he walked through the forest, he chopped off the branches of every tree until he came upon a magical tree. The tree stopped him before he chopped its branches and said, "Oh, kind sir, please spare my branches. If you spare me, I will provide you with golden apples." The oldest brother agreed, but was feeling disappointed with how many apples the tree gave him. Overcome by greed, the brother threatened to cut the entire tree if it didn't provide him with more apples. But instead of giving more apples, the tree showered him with hundreds of tiny needles. The brother fell to the ground, crying in pain as the sun began to set. Soon the younger brother became worried and went to search for his older brother. He searched until he found him at the trunk of the tree, laying in pain with hundreds of needles on his body. He rushed to him and started to painstakingly remove each needle with love. Once the needles were out, the older brother apologized for treating his younger brother so badly. The magical tree saw the change in the older brother's heart and gifted them with all the golden apples they could need.
Going to share a story. Money can't buy everything. So let's start. There is a kid named Jack. He is the single son of a businessman. Jack loves his father very much. Jack is 10 years old now and he misses the time when he and his father used to play outdoor for hours. Jack's father is a busy businessman. He generally comes home when Jack is already asleep and is over from office before Jack wakes up. Jack yearned for his father's attention. He became sad every time he sees his friend playing with their father. However, one day, Jack's father surprises him. He is home only today. Jack ran to his father and hugged him tightly. Love you, Dad. It is a pleasant surprise. You are home. His father looked at him and said, Yes, my son. My wedding was cancelled, but after a couple of hours, I have a flight. The news upset him. Then, when you will be back? He asked his father in a low tone. His father replied, Tomorrow evening. Jack was very sad and he sat on the bed while his father was packing the suitcase with files. Suddenly, he asked his father, Dad, how much do you earn in an hour? His father, busy in shuffling his files, said, Why, that's a big amount. You won't understand. Jack waits for a minute and asks again, How much you earn in an hour? Father, confused by his son's question, looked at him and replied, Maybe 20. Jack ran to his room and came back with the piggy bank and hand over the piggy bank to his father. I have $50. Can you spare me 2 words? I want to book an appointment to go to the beach and have dinner with you tomorrow at evening. Can you please mark this on your schedule? Jack's father was speechless. Thanks for listening.
Two brothers who lived at the forest's edge. The oldest brother was always unkind to his younger brother. The older brother took all the food and snatched all the good clothes. The oldest brother used to go into the forest in search of firewood to sell in the market. As he walked through the forest, he chopped off the branches of every tree until he came upon a magical tree. The tree stopped him before he chopped its branches and said, Oh, kind sir, please spare my branches. If you spare me, I will provide you with golden apples. The oldest brother agreed, but was feeling disappointed with how many apples the tree gave him. Overcome by greed, the brother threatened to cut the entire tree if it didn't provide him with more apples. But instead of giving more apples, the tree showered him with hundreds of tiny needles. The brother fell to the ground, crying in pain as the sun began to set. Soon the younger brother became worried and went to search for his older brother. He searched until he found him at the trunk of the tree, lying in pain with hundreds of needles on his body. He rushed to him and started to painstakingly remove each needle with love. Once the needles were out, the oldest brother apologized for treating his younger brother so badly. The magical tree saw the change in the older brother's heart and gifted them with all the golden apples they could eat. Thank you.
Jobs. When we think of odd jobs, we usually think of chores like moving the lawn, drying the dishes, or collecting old newspapers. But there are many other jobs that are called odd because they are unusual or special. Rattlesnake's milker. There are people whose job it is to milk cows for the dairies. But did you know that there are some people whose job it is to milk rattlesnakes? That's certainly an odd job. In fact, it's so odd that not many people want to do it. Of course, the milk of a snake is not the same as the milk of a cow. In fact, it is not milk at all, but poison. Once the poison has been taken from the snake's fangs, it can be used from treating snake bites. This medicine can save the lives of people who have been bitten by rattlesnakes. A rattlesnake must be handled very carefully by an expert. The poison is contained and lands just behind and on either side of its upper jaw. The snake must be held firmly right behind the head so that it cannot turn to bite. Milkers first cover a clear glass or plastic jar within a thin sheet of a rubber. Then, wearing heavy gloves, they hold the snake's head over the jar. They press behind the jaws to make them open. And the fangs come forward. The snake, of course, if angry and frightened, and strikes at the closest object, the jar. The fangs pierce the thin cover. The poison is released and drips harmlessly into the jar. The rattlesnake milker has to be strong enough to handle the snake safely.
he or she must also be able to stay calm at all times. Ladybug rancher. Being a rancher doesn't sound like such an odd job. You may know about cattle ranchers and sheep ranchers, but have you ever heard of a ladybug rancher? Ladybugs, those small, brightly colored beetles with dots on their backs, aren't just pretty, they are useful too. They get rid of plant lice and other garden pests. Ladybugs are raised in herds and sold by the gallon to vegetable farmers. Did you know that there are 75